Good morning, hockey fans. This is Stephen Heisler with juniorhockey.io, the Victorious Hockey Company, the absolutely insane junior hockey discussion group on Facebook. You are watching the Junior Hockey Morning Show. I have Eric Ballard with me this morning. We are on the World Sports Broadcasting Network, WSBN.TV, Facebook, X, YouTube. It is Sunday morning. We don't do shows on Sunday morning unless we have a really good reason. And about the only reason we're going to do that is World Juniors. Eric, semifinals last night. I picked one winner. You picked one winner. You picked Czechia and Finland, right? No.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I picked Sweden and the U.S., and now we're deadlocked again. That's happens from time to time. For us, 3 years in a row. We get to go into the final game tomorrow, USA and Finland. Let's go over the matchups for today, Eric. What did you see that you liked the most in the Finland-Sweden game this morning, or yesterday afternoon?
I thought the Finns actually, in the second or the third period and overtime, they didn't touch the puck much, and they just waited for their opportunities. And the Swedes put a ton of pressure on. The Finns they bent, but they didn't break. And again, like we talked about before, it's a border battle. All bets are off. But the Finns did a really good job of staying composed, not getting too high, too low, staying right in the middle. And, it proved well for them. It was back and forth, goal in, goal out. They had a goal disallowed. That was a great game, an absolutely great game. That could have came down. I think it was just down to a little bit of time left before it went to a shootout. But Finland's goalie was really good. And, like I said, nothing screws up a better game plan than a hot goalie. So what a great game between the Finns and the Swedes.
We talk about goaltending, what a difference that makes in these kind of events. And let's just say for what it is, the Finnish goalie absolutely carried the team through the whole event. And you know what? He's probably just a game away from doing it again. And when a goalie gets hot like that, it could be the NHL playoffs. It could be North American Hockey League playoffs. It doesn't matter. When you got a guy that stops pucks like that on a consistent basis over 5 or 6 games, that's dangerous for any opposition. And Finland really played to that strength in that game against Sweden. I look for them to really lean on that guy again in today's game.
Yeah, I agree. And he was really solid. He had one real bad goal he'd like to have back, but it was that shot from right down Broad Street there. I think he misjudged it. And it came in a little floater, went through the 7-hole, went just under the elbow over the pad. But he was dynamite, absolutely dynamite. And the Swedes threw everything at him but the kitchen sink. So, obviously they'll go back with him against USA today. But he was a difference maker in yesterday's game for sure.
When you could stop pucks, 19 out of 20 clip, good things are going to happen to you on a regular basis. And pretty much this whole tournament, he's been in that range, 915 to 930 every game. Those kind of numbers are hard to beat. It doesn't matter at any level you're playing at. If you got a goalie stopping pucks like that, it really creates a lot of problems for the opposition. Eric?
Yeah, no question. And he's seeing NHL, hockey players. A ton of NHL draft picks. He plays in a really good league. No, he's the difference. There's no question. He's been the top goalie in the World Juniors, and he proved it again yesterday.
In the U.S. game with Czechia, I kind of expected a closer game, and really the Americans didn't really open it up into the third period. It was really back and forth up until the third period. But I noticed throughout the game that the Americans managed to maintain their composure probably better in that game than they did in any of the previous games during the tournament. They stuck to their systems. They didn't get too high on themselves. They celebrated the Sellies like they're always going to do. But in general, they stayed responsibly defensively. I really liked the way they played against the Czechs. The Czechs were getting frustrated in that game, and it really showed, Eric.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, obviously, I had Czechia had taken out the U.S., and I'm a U.S. guy, but I just thought Czech would show up a little more. But I take nothing away from the U.S. team. Boy, they got up and down the ice well. They tracked back on pucks. They took away time and space when they didn't have possession. But more importantly, they literally found every bit of soft ice out there. That second goal by Cole Eiserman was just an absolute rocket. You know, they attacked the offensive zone. It was a great seam pass, and he didn't dust it off. He just hammered it and pinned it. And that goalie for Czechia, he's 6'6". He didn't have a chance. But, you know, it was a good game. I thought it was a really good game. And then, you know, the Czechs had a really bad line change, create that 2-on-1. And, Leonard tapped it in the back door. And the U.S. deserved to win that game. They were the better team for sure for those 60.
What I liked about the U.S. game most of anything is you have a team full of stars, right? Everybody on that team is probably a top 3 guy or a top pair guy on their team and on their club team. So they come together in this environment, and they forgot who they were. They forgot that they were at Boston College. They forgot that they were the big dog in their small town team, wherever they were before. But they came into the situation, and they played as a team. They didn't play like a bunch of superstars. Yasserman's minutes were very low throughout the whole game, yet he still produced in his time on the ice, made the most of his opportunities. And those are the kind of events where being a star, being a big-name player doesn't matter. It's going to come down to whoever's putting the most work in, whoever's putting the most intensity in, and shift after shift in that game yesterday. The U.S. really showed that intensity and showed that enthusiasm and showed that willingness to be a team player. And I think that was a difference maker. Eric?
Yeah, no, they played together really well. I would agree with you, Stephen. I think the other thing, too, is they came in waves. You know, they didn't just have one or two guys. They had – everybody was clicking. It was really hard to watch USA not – not hard to watch, but they didn't have any holes in the lineup. Everybody was on par. Everybody was ready for that game. It was a great game, and U.S., they played hard. They played really hard, and they were opportunistic. They were in the right place at the right time. They were relentless on pucks, and then when we got offensive pressure, they hung on to pucks and they made plays. There was, like I said, no question that USA was a better team, hands down. They came and just one after another, and their scoring chances were, ridiculous. Their goaltender kept the game closer than a 4-1 game.
Absolutely. In the preliminary round, Finland beats the Americans, and we know how hard it is to beat the same team twice in one of these kind of events. Excuse me. What does Finland have to accomplish in the game today to take the gold medal, or do they have any chance at all? It's going to be very difficult for them. I think the Americans are going to go back over the game tape from that game and look what broke down. I think they made adjustments as a team as the event moved along away from those problems they had against Finland. But in this game today, I think all bets are off, right? I think that I'm going to pick the Americans because they're just obvious. And Finland is probably going to have to do something more than what they did before. Definitely more than what they did against Sweden, and pull something out of their hat completely different to surprise the Americans. And that's their only chance unless they put plexiglass behind that goalie.
Oh, listen, they stung the Americans in round robin play because I think the Americans may have taken them a little too lightly. And based on what I saw yesterday, if USA can bring that same level of intensity, and I'm not waffling, I'm just U.S. should absolutely steamroll Finland. I don't think it's going to be a close game if the U.S. can bring the level of intensity they brought against the Czechs. And like I said before, Finland was hanging on for dear life in the third period and the overtime round. There was time of possession was almost 3-1 for the Swedes, and they didn't break. The Finns didn't break, and they got a goal at the end to take the game. But I think if USA plays the way they did against Czechia, just that relentless, aggressive, no time, no space, keep possession, find those soft areas and those seams. I think they got their work cut out for them for sure.
I think I have to agree with that. The 2026 event will be in Minnesota, your home state. How big is that for Minnesota to host that event next year?
That's a great question. I've been so far removed from Minnesota, where I was born and raised and played, and I think a lot of people in the state of Minnesota. There's so much hockey, right? You've got the NHL, you've got college, Division I, Division III, you've got junior, you've got high school. I think it's going to be a great event. It's going to be at the Excel. I think it's going to have a just an unbelievable atmosphere, but I think it's going to be more well attended, probably from people from out of state, out of town. A lot of again, just purely speculate. I'm not quite sure all the Minnesota people are going to be too hyped up about it. Not a lot of people know about junior as much as the World Juniors, as much as some of the other areas of hockey, but it's going to be a great event. I mean, they put on a great event. Ottawa did a good job so far, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I looked at ticket prices right now. Ticket prices are going for the World Juniors at the Excel for like $2,000 a pop.
Wow,
it's off the charts, which is great. It's just great. So, great venue, great atmosphere, close to everything. Minneapolis, St. Paul area it's a really cool area to get to if you've never been, but it'll be a good event, really good event.
I have to agree with that, and there's plenty of opportunities, before and after, during the event, during the week to watch more hockey. The issue will be, will World Juniors outdraw Minnesota high school hockey in that event? Because Minnesota high school hockey is just absolutely epic, especially during the state finals. And it's going to be a question if World Juniors are able to surpass what they do at the high school level. And that just tells you what the state of hockey is like in Minnesota.
Yeah, no question. 18,000 plus. They had some record crowds last year at the Excel for this Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. And a lot of it comes down to it's just the kids, that week of school, everything shuts down. Doesn't matter if your team's in the state tournament or not. It's a big event for everybody in the state of Minnesota, where kids get school off, they take off, they head down to the state tournament, regardless if their team is in it or not. So I think they'll come close to drawing, in those areas, but I'm not quite sure they're going to have record crowds and sellouts. I just think the World Juniors is just probably not as heavily followed as Minnesota State high school hockey. But that, again, purely my opinion.
Well, it's going to be a good event. Folks, we'll come back on Monday, tomorrow, with another show, and we'll kind of recap what happens in the game today. So until tomorrow, hope that you enjoy your morning coffee on Sunday. You're eating brunch right now, and have a great day in hockey.